What's up? Today we're going to be talking about Naraka Bladepoint. Like the opposite of War Owl. I still have no intro. I should probably turn off the fan. A lot of people have told me that that's super distracting, so that's it. Golden. Turning off the fan, that's the intro. Let's go. So, like all good games, I didn't know this one was even existed until I saw what I thought was a shitty Facebook mobile gaming ad. Because every time I see one of those ads, I'm like, oh great, what is this shit? Oh look, it's Genshin Impact for the 90th time this month. Everybody knows real gamers don't game on their phones, okay? Oh, what's the matter? You don't have a phone? Come on, get out of the shot, man. Fucking amateurs. Has it been a minute? I don't know. I think you're not supposed to swear for less than a minute on YouTube. Naraka has like so many things that are great about it, and it's still in beta, and supposedly it's closed beta, but if you just go, put the link in the description, if you just go there and enter your email, it just gives you a key, which is, it's not how closed beta works, but I'm not complaining. The good news is that if you live here, you can play it right now. Just go with that link, just sign up and play. I think if you also live somewhere over here, I don't know, they just said Asia, they didn't specify. There's like a lot of countries over there, so China, maybe? And that's not Asia. But whatever, we don't care about that. America. That joke may or may not be dated depending on when you're watching this. So when I first saw the ad and the gameplay actually kicked in, I was like, is this a sword-based battle royale? What? What? Hello?
Oh, I couldn't do it. That's fine.
First of all, it's got 3 different melee weapons, which they're going to be adding more. It's beta. They've got 8 different ranged weapons. There's grappling hooks, so you can fucking sling all over the battlefield while you're fighting people and fly high in the sky and shit, like Spider-Man. It is so... If you can't tell by the way I'm talking about it, it's so goddamn cool. And if you haven't checked it out, go download it. It's free. There's literally no reason for you not to go click on that link and go test it out unless you download it and your game... Your computer just explodes because it can't handle it. It needs a little optimization, little uneven. It's great once you get in the game, but it's at the start it's very unoptimized. Anyway, that's a tangent for another video. I'm going to talk today a little bit about some of the basic things that'll get you going in the game so that you can kind of get an upper hand on the other noobs that you're going to get matched against. People are very quickly picking up on things, so I expect the basic skill level to raise, and I'm sure some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video won't be relevant in like a week or two. Maybe some of them will, but hopefully, based on the suggestions that people are giving them in their Discord, which they have a link to on their main page, go join it, give them feedback because they're listening. They take the server down every day, I think, to modify and add things to the game. Right now there's only, I think, 1 server. I think it's on the West Coast. I'm in Texas and I get about 45 ping, but my buddy on the East Coast was getting close to 100 stable. So I think it's only on the West Coast right now. That should be a high priority of theirs, I think, to add servers to Central and West. We'll see what they do. I think right now it's just a stress test. In any case, let's get to the point of the video before I keep rambling about stupid shit that doesn't matter. And let's show you how you can get started, what's important to pay attention to, and just like a little crash course on the game. I also don't know how to segue. Alright guys, so I'm going to just pick up right here on the tutorial because this will probably be one of the easiest ways to convey the usefulness of the grappling spool, which is this guy right here. You get a bunch of this stuff as you do the tutorial, and just came through part of it already. Basically, whatever your keybinds are, yours might be a little different. I've changed a few of mine. I play in a different position. You might be able to see this. I actually have my hands like this because I'm a civilized adult and not copying a control scheme that was developed when people are playing Doom with the arrow keys on their keyboard.
So you might have different keys because I moved some stuff over to the other side. But either way, you're going to press your grapple key, and you'll get this little indicator. This is the thing in the middle that tells you whether or not you're in range for the grapple to hit. Now, if you're moving forward or backward as you fire the grapple, it seems to have a little bit of leniency. So if you were in range when you fired it, it will usually connect, but it's not guaranteed, so just be careful. But as you can see, like if I do this right here, and I throw that, it's not going to connect to this tree way the fuck up there. But if I click on this, it'll connect it there. Now, depending on what you're grappling to, your character will actually have a few different contextual actions. Like you notice they're kind of whipped on top of the tree, but if I grapple to the wall here, my character will actually cling to the wall, and I can climb up from here. I don't think this wall was intended to be climbed on, so it kind of makes sense that doesn't look right. But in any case, the grapple hook is like probably one of the most important tools in your arsenal because you can use it for a lot of different things. You can use it to engage a fight. You can actually grapple to people, and it'll pull you towards them. Now, they can dodge right at the moment of impact and get away from you, but if they don't, you'll actually knock them over, and you can even engage an attack right as the grapple is going off. I don't know if it'll let me show you that while I'm... Yep. So you see there the grapple attack. You can actually hit people on the way in. So you can use it to engage. You can use it to escape. What the hell? That's new. You can use it to engage. You can use it to escape. You can use it mid-fight to reposition yourself. It's very useful for, you know, if you manage to get out of a fight that you're losing, you can quickly get around a corner and go up a building and get a heal off before you get finished off, and then you can re-engage the fight at your own leisure. So getting good with the grappling hook and getting used to it and how it controls is very important. It's going to be key to getting around the map and surviving fights and chasing down people that are trying to run away. Someone just decides they want to peace out, you just give them one of these and one of those. Like I mentioned, they can dodge it, so just keep that in mind. So every character in the game has two abilities. They have one regular ability that they can use, which is by default, I believe, bound to Q. I have mine set to F. For this particular character, it's a poison ball. It tells you, coats him with poison, and detonate it manually. It just does damage over time. The second is the ultimate ability for this particular character, Viper. She starts channeling this eyeball over her head, and if anybody's in range, they'll be tethered to her. When the eyeball pops like it did just then, anybody who's currently tethered to her will get stunned. Alright, so since I had to come back in here, this will actually give me a chance to demonstrate the range of the right click. Now, there are actually two different variations of the right click. You have charge attacks, so if you hold it down, you get sort of a homing attack, and this has a little bit, it's a little bit faster and it's a little bit more range. There's also a jumping one, which has about the same range, and as you can see, it's actually not exactly on your crosshair, like straight in front of you. It sort of takes into account your character's facing. So since you're sort of standing off to the side, when you do the downward slash, it goes a little bit further right than it looks like. So in some cases, you want to kind of aim a bit to the left if you want it to connect. So if I aim right at this thing from about here, it hits the very right side of it, but you can tell that the wave was going almost off target. Whereas if I aim a little bit to the left, it's more towards the center. That's about the range that you're going to get with the slash. That's the end of it right there. Like, any further than that, it won't hit. If I stand back here, this won't hit. If I do it again, that should hit right at the very end. You can actually also jump before you reach your destination with the grappling hook, and you sort of maintain some of the momentum. It's not quite like a Pathfinder zip from Apex. It's not quite that strong. But you can actually jump before you connect with your target. And I guess they don't want you doing that either. But you can jump before you connect with your target, so you can reposition in the air, because once you hit something that you're going to grapple onto, there's a short delay before you can actually dismount from it, because being forced into the animation can sometimes be a bad thing. From a balance perspective, I can understand them wanting to keep it that way. I personally think the game would be just fine if they got rid of that. So we're going to pick up all the weapons here. These are legendary versions of all the weapons. The weapons do actually do more damage in-game, depending on which tier you get. So they go white, blue, purple, yellow. And white being the worst, obviously, does the least damage. Yellow being the best, does the most damage. There's also armor, white, blue, purple, yellow. Each one has an additional bar. So white starts at 2 bars, blue starts at 3 bars, purple starts at 4 bars, and yellow goes all the way up to 5 bars. Real quick, before I get into the weapons and any sort of movement stuff outside of what I've already shown, I'm just going to talk about the inventory system real quick. When you open up your inventory, which is by default tab, you have the ability to actually quick slot things by pressing the corresponding keybind. Instead of having to come up here and drag this into your inventory, you can press 2 and it'll just replace the weapon in slot 2. And if I want to put, you know, a gun on there, I can press 1. And you're not restricted to what you put on. You can put on double ranged, you can put on double melee, and it doesn't matter which slot they go in. By default, you're only able to carry an additional 1 weapon. Throughout the game, you'll pick up bag slots, soul jade slots, and weapon slots. Soul jades I'll go into in another video because they could probably be a whole strategy of their own. They're a little bit more complicated, but all you should know when you're starting out is to just make sure that you pick as many up as you can, and whenever you see an opportunity to upgrade the quality of them, make sure you do that. Just real quick to show you, I can take this Vitalia, and if you look at my bar down on the bottom over here, you can see that I just put it on the 5 slot. I don't have any armor, so I can't show you the armor. But you can see that I can replace things. So if you want to put the higher level healing and armor items on there, you can. Right now, there's no reason to put weaponry chest there because the... I'll show you real quick. We'll just use up some durability here. By default, R will actually use the weapon kit, which is to reload for ranged weapons and to repair for melee weapons. It essentially does the same thing. That's about it. There's money that you can get, and there are shops throughout the game that allow you to buy things. There are some events that you'll see that are marked by a big yellow circle that slowly starts to fill up that summon a special merchant that has a bunch of free items. They are single use, so if you go up to it and you take everything out, your teammates won't have anything, so keep that in mind. You need to share things, then don't hog everything, because it's a dick move. So the tutorial will explain to you that you need to dodge in order to run. I personally hope that they change it to a sprint keybind, but I understand that they're trying to keep controller in mind, so it might get a little crowded if we start adding all these buttons. So it's fine the way it is. I wish they would add the option for PC. If they don't add it, it's not the end of the world. Again, talking about the grapple, super good way to get around the map. There's a range to it. You get this little delay where you can hang in the air for a little bit if you detach, and you can use your double jump. You know, you can see here that you can use the grapple and detach from the thing you're trying to grapple to quickly grapple around objects. You have to actually have that cursor in order for it to hit something, though. So you don't see that closed cursor, the closed triangle-looking thing in the middle, it won't work. But you can even grapple to the floor. You know, if you're jumping off of a tall building and people are trying to shoot at you, you can grapple to the ground to get to the ground a little bit faster. The one thing I would like to see is to be able to maintain some of the momentum with the grappling hook. Not all of it, mind you. I think if you were to continue going that fast, like into a slide, it would be probably impossible to catch people. It would just be a little too easy to run away. But based on the fact that it's a battle royale and there's the zone to worry about and running into other teams, I think that improving the mobility off of the grapple, especially on the ground, wouldn't be the worst idea. As far as the way climbing things goes, it is a little bit janky at the moment, something I hope that they improve, because there's not much in the way of context menu. So if I'm holding down here and I press space, my character sort of jumps backwards, but in some situations when you do that, your character will actually kind of take a leap off. It would be nice to be able to just straight drop down without having to kind of hop off. And you'll find certain things, like right here, I can't climb up this, but in certain contexts you can, which is a little weird. And when you don't drop off the wall, when your character actually jumps, you can do a second double jump up a ledge like this and climb up another stage. So this should let me go up. And you can kind of, you know, you can use your double jump to maneuver and get yourself into spaces. So your character will wall run. There is a bit of wall running like Titanfall. your character can kind of pull themselves up ceilings. I don't know if there's anywhere good for me to demonstrate that here. Let's see if this works. You can grapple the ceilings. One thing that I really like, maybe this will work. You can grapple up to a ceiling and hang upside down from the ceiling. Okay, so this isn't really showing it because I'm on a wall, but just imagine I'm hanging upside down from the ceiling like Spider-Man. You can hang from the ceiling and you can actually use items while you're hanging. So in a pinch, if you're getting chased and you manage to get up into a real sneaky spot, you can always use that to get yourself healed back up and get back into the fight. The next thing is the dodge, which is part of the sprinting. And you'll see you have that little meter there. So you can only dodge so many times, twice in a row if you mash it before your stamina goes away. If your stamina is too low to count for a full dodge, it just won't let you dodge. It doesn't have that Dark Souls mechanic where if you hit 0 stamina, you gotta wait for a while for it to recover. I believe there are jades that you can pick up that improve your stamina recovery, but don't quote me on that. There was a lot to take in the 5.5 hours I played, and I'm still kind of doing this just to help people get into it, so it might be missing a few of the advanced things. One thing to keep in mind when you are trying to move around the map as quickly as possible, don't waste your spools unless you have a lot of them, because spools are very important for combat. There are certain abilities that your opponents can use to prevent you from being able to use spools, like the drunk. If he lights you on fire, you can't spool, you can't sprint. You can't spool your way through the whirlwind from Taiji, I forget his name exactly. And certain things attacks will interrupt you. So if you start up a grapple, for example, and somebody hits you right as you do this, it will knock you out of the grapple. So it's not just a get out of jail free card. You can't get jumped on by 3 people and just suddenly get out. So when you're trying to move around the map, don't waste them. You can actually move a little bit faster by using the slide technique, and you've seen this in a lot of BRs, I'm sure. You just slide, and right as you hit the end of the slide, when it starts to slow down, you roll. And this gives you a little boost of momentum. It's not big, but over the course of a long trek, it'll make a difference. You'll get quite a bit ahead of your teammates. And as long as you time it correctly, you'll always have stamina for that upcoming roll after the slide. That's about that. I don't want to go too heavy into the weapons because a lot of these are subject to change, so most of what I could teach you right now is probably going to change, or it might change. But just to stay relevant on what new players are probably going to be exposed to when they're coming to the game at the time of this release. By the way, the shortcut window that I just opened up, if you hold down either 1 or 2, it will bring up the menu, and you can use the scroll wheel to scroll through items to replace your current selection with. So if I drop on the greatsword, it'll pop up there. Unfortunately, the skins don't show up in the training, so you don't get to see my super cool greatsword. But you can go buy it yourself because they give everybody free gold. Each weapon has a light attack and a heavy attack. They also have jumping light attacks and jumping heavy attacks. And they also have a running attack and a running heavy attack. These attacks do what they look like they do, which is this will actually launch people if you connect with it. It's pretty slow, easy to dodge. You can get out of the way. The dodge in this game does have iframes. I haven't tested it yet, but I think the crouch might, because it shows a similar effect. You see that little kind of like ghostly white effect? It may have iframes. I haven't gotten a chance to test it yet because you can only do custom games and there's no like training mode aside from this. But if you see when you dodge, your character gets that kind of like white ghost around them, that's indicating that there are iframes on that move. So if somebody's trying to attack you, you can use that to dodge. There is another mechanic in the game where if you attack and the startup of your frames meets the startup of their frames, for those who might not be familiar with fighting game terminology, it's just when the animation of your swing is starting up and it would hit somebody. If you connect at the same time, you sort of clash and bounce off. There's also a parry where if you press both of the mouse buttons at the same time, your character, depending on the weapon, does a little animation and flashes red. If your opponent connects with this move, they will get knocked down and disarmed. The weapon they're currently holding will drop out of their hands on the ground. They have to run over and pick it up. They are extremely susceptible to big bursty damage when you do this. I've yet to be able to test it really myself, but I get the feeling that you could probably do some pretty cheesy stuff with this, where You can take something like the flamethrower, which has insane DPS, but forces you to use it in melee range where you're susceptible to getting comboed. I have a feeling you can probably parry someone and then switch to the cannon and just melt them while they're on the ground. This would probably work with the actual cannonball launcher as well. Take that guy out right here. And hit a parry and then take this out. Start lighting them up. So keep that in mind. I think the weapons that have really insane high damage output are the cannon and the flamethrower, and to a lesser extent, this guy right here, the spike launcher. I don't think this thing will charge up fast enough for you to really take advantage of it, but you can start charging it, and if they don't have the opportunity to like escape out a window or grapple away, you might be able to just destroy them before they can even move. You can hit this, and then it takes a long time to charge up. And it will only fire as many as you've charged, so I don't see it being that practical with this weapon, but who knows? Maybe somebody will find something. Different light attacks and heavy attacks can combo into each other, and they lead to different things. That's light, heavy, heavy, and then into a light. You can do heavy, light, light, and then heavy again. You can jump attack, and then heavy attack off of that. You do have the ability to delay your attacks, and this is something that you'll want to learn how to do as you get a little bit more comfortable with the game and you're not just spamming buttons trying to fight people, which instinctively people will do when they're first getting used to it. You'll want to get used to parrying, you'll want to get used to delaying your swings so that when somebody's knocked down on the ground and they spam their dodge button and then they run out of stamina, you can chase them down with your buttons, you know, wait, hit them behind you, wait for them to dodge past you. Anybody who's played Dark Souls is probably familiar with this technique. Somewhat similar to Soul Calibur too, in an extent. But it's what's called tech chasing, when they use their dodge to get out of a combo. You can follow them, and then once they're out of stamina and they can't dodge anymore, they're basically at your mercy unless they parry you. I think that in the current state of game, the parry is a little too strong, and I feel like they're probably going to need to add some recovery frames on it, meaning it takes longer after you whiff it to be able to do your next move. I think they need to make it a little bit longer to discourage people from just spamming it, because it's pretty quick, and if you get hit with this, you're eating a huge combo, if not somebody just straight up killing you. So I think the parry needs to be toned down a little bit. It's a little cheap at the moment. So keep that in mind right now. If you want to abuse it, you know, be my guest. That'll probably get the devs to nerf it a little bit faster. The katana is a sort of interesting weapon in its own right. The longsword seems to have some parry frames in its run attack. I haven't been able to recreate it perfectly, but it seems like when you do the running left click, you get a brief parry frame. When your character does this kind of like whip of the sword forward, it seems to parry attacks. It's inconsistent, so I don't really know. Without the training tool, again, it's hard to really answer. But best thing you can do is come into the training mode and do what I'm doing right now to try out all the different combos that the abilities have. I find this to be extremely strong for the longsword. There are certain moves that appear not to be parryable, and I think the ones that have the blue frames are not parryable. Something I figured out literally right now while I was just talking to you guys is that you can actually feint into a parry. If you start up an attack and then quickly press the other attack button, if you know, I hit light here, and then before the attack starts, if I press the other button, it'll parry. So you can sort of fake people out like that too, and it's a way to feint instead of committing to something. Just another thing to add to your arsenal. There's not a lot more to talk about. I have a feeling that the tech for this game that's going to evolve over time is really going to be how the weapons interact into each other individually, and they'll probably add more melee weapons over time. But get used to the movement. It's probably the most important thing about this game. Get used to being able to maneuver around the environment really quickly. Get used to this, you know, slide dodge, slide dodge, slide dodge. Get used to this. Get rid of get used to quickly grappling onto things and then changing direction if you need to. This is what's going to help you stay alive the most in fights and reposition yourself to get to a place where you can use the really overpowered ranged weapons that are getting nerfed in the next patch. Like this bow. This thing is ridiculous. So that's it, guys. I know this is kind of a long video, but I wanted to give everybody sort of a breakdown on what I think is necessary going into the game, and if you can retain even like half of it, or I guess to say the most important thing I would tell you to retain is the movement stuff. But if you can retain most of the stuff, your beginning experience will probably be a lot more enjoyable than if you just run in and start button mashing on people and wonder why they just stun you and kill you to death. Kill you to death. Yep, we're going out on that one. That's the exit. All right, see you guys later. Bye.